Jon Jones, the reigning UFC heavyweight champion and arguably the greatest mixed martial artist of all time, has finally broken his silence regarding Tom Aspinall's recent training footage, offering a response that perfectly encapsulates the delicate balance between acknowledging a dangerous challenger while simultaneously reinforcing his own legendary status within the sport. The heavyweight division has been in a state of flux ever since Jones was forced to withdraw from his scheduled title defense against Stipe Miocic due to a pectoral injury, and Aspinall's subsequent rise to interim champion status has created an intriguing dilemma for the UFC matchmakers. Aspinall, the dynamic British heavyweight who has looked nothing short of spectacular in his recent performances, has been documenting his training camp through various social media platforms, showcasing a frightening evolution in his striking technique, grappling prowess, and overall fight IQ that suggests he may be the most complete challenger Jones has ever faced in the heavyweight division. The training footage that has drawn Jones' attention shows Aspinall working with elite-level sparring partners, demonstrating hand speed that rivals light heavyweights while maintaining the devastating knockout power expected from a 250-pound fighter, along with a grappling game that has shown remarkable improvement since his early UFC appearances. What's perhaps most impressive about Aspinall's recent training clips is the visible refinement in his footwork and defensive awareness, areas that were once considered minor weaknesses but now appear to be strengths after his work with top-tier coaches and training partners in England. The interim champion has clearly been studying Jones' fighting style meticulously, as evidenced by specific drills that seem designed to counter Jones' unique offensive weapons, including his devastating oblique kicks and unorthodox striking angles that have baffled opponents for years. Jones' response to these training videos, while characteristically confident, carried an undercurrent of respect that hasn't always been present in his previous callouts, suggesting he recognizes Aspinall as a genuinely dangerous threat rather than just another contender. The heavyweight champion pointed to his extensive experience against multiple generations of elite fighters as his ultimate advantage, reminding fans that he's faced and defeated every style imaginable throughout his historic championship run that spans nearly 15 years at the highest level of competition. What makes Jones' perspective particularly compelling is that it comes from a fighter who has consistently evolved his own game to meet new challenges, transitioning seamlessly from a dominant light heavyweight reign to capturing the heavyweight title in spectacular fashion against Cyril Gane. The UFC finds itself in a unique position regarding this potential matchup, as they must weigh the merits of honoring the originally scheduled Jones-Miocic legacy fight against the undeniable momentum and fan interest surrounding a Jones-Aspinall championship unification bout. Miocic, a two-time heavyweight champion and consensus top 3 heavyweight of all time, certainly deserves his opportunity to challenge for the title again, especially considering he never actually lost his belt in competition but rather was sidelined by contractual disputes and timing issues. However, the landscape of the heavyweight division has shifted dramatically since Miocic's last appearance, and at 41 years old with nearly 2 years of inactivity, questions naturally arise about whether he still represents the most compelling challenge for Jones at this stage of their respective careers. Delving deeper into the stylistic matchup between Jones and Aspinall reveals a fascinating clash of attributes that could produce one of the most technically intriguing heavyweight title fights in UFC history. Jones' greatest advantage lies in his unparalleled fight IQ and ability to adapt mid-fight, combined with his freakish 84.5-inch reach that allows him to control distance against virtually any opponent in the division. However, Aspinall presents unique challenges that Jones hasn't faced before. At 6 feet 5 inches with an 80-inch reach of his own, he's one of the few heavyweights who can match Jones' physical dimensions, and his background in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, where he holds a black belt, suggests he may be the most credentialed grappler Jones has ever faced at heavyweight. Examining the timeline for Jones' return from injury adds another layer of complexity to this situation, as the champion's recovery process will ultimately dictate which direction the UFC takes with the heavyweight title picture. Initial estimates suggested Jones could be ready to compete by mid to late 2024, but pec injuries can be notoriously tricky for fighters, especially those relying on upper body strength for grappling and clinch work that form the foundation of Jones' fighting style. If Jones' recovery progresses slower than expected, the UFC may be forced to consider having Aspinall defend his interim title against another top contender to keep the division moving, which could further complicate the championship landscape. The business implications of this potential super fight cannot be overstated, as Jones versus Aspinall represents one of the most marketable matchups the UFC could make in the current heavyweight landscape. From a promotional standpoint, the built-in storyline of the aging legend versus the young challenger writes itself, and the contrast between Jones' controversial public persona and Aspinall's clean-cut, media-friendly demeanor creates natural tension that would resonate with casual fans. The UK market in particular represents a massive opportunity for the UFC, as they've been trying to establish a consistent presence there for years, and a stadium show headlined by Jones defending against England's first legitimate heavyweight title threat could shatter European attendance and PPV records. Aspinall's public campaign for this fight has been remarkably effective, as he's managed to position himself as the logical next challenger without alienating fans or coming across as disrespectful to Jones' legacy. His approach has been a masterclass in modern fighter promotion, consistently posting impressive training footage, conducting thoughtful interviews where he breaks down Jones' strengths and weaknesses with analytical precision, and even suggesting potential fight locations that play into the UFC's international expansion plans. This stands in stark contrast to how previous Jones opponents have positioned themselves, often resorting to trash talk or personal attacks that played into Jones' psychological strengths. Looking at the broader historical context, a potential Jones-Aspinall showdown represents a pivotal moment in the evolution of the heavyweight division, marking the first time in years that a young, dynamic contender has emerged who appears capable of ushering in a new era. The heavyweight title has traditionally changed hands infrequently, with long reigns by fighters like Miocic, Cormier, and Lesnar creating periods of stability that sometimes bordered on stagnation. Aspinall represents something different, a heavyweight who moves with the agility of a middleweight, possesses legitimate finishing skills both standing and on the ground, and carries himself with the star power needed to headline major events. As the MMA world waits for official word on Jones' next title defense, the debate surrounding this potential matchup continues to intensify, with compelling arguments on all sides regarding how the UFC should proceed with their heavyweight championship picture. What makes this situation particularly fascinating is that there's no definitively correct decision. Booking Jones against Miocic honors the sport's history and respects the legacy of two all-time greats, while matching Jones with Aspinall embraces the future and could potentially launch the next era of heavyweight MMA. The UFC's ultimate choice will reveal much about their current priorities, whether they value legacy fights that appeal to longtime fans, or if they're more focused on building new stars who can carry the sport forward into the next decade.